Mr. Safados, I see the wind farms as a great opportunity. Why is it an opportunity? Because up to now, the green transition, when in terms of PVs, we import everything. There was a time when in Greece we had some PV manufacturers, but of course when China came in, of course this were closed down. Therefore, there is an opportunity that we saw in a recent presentation when it comes to offshore wind farms, and if we seize that opportunity, then offshore wind farms can offer up to 55% of the domestic added value of the 2 billion investment that we've seen in the same scenario. So how do you perceive that? Is this the kind of key issue here? First of all, good morning. I'm very pleased to be invited to this discussion here. I would like to start with what's already been mentioned and then get to your question. And I'd like to say that the energy transition is a global, it's something that's never been done in the history of humanity. Therefore, the speed and the efficiency that we want to have through this transition is something that is unprecedented. This is something that we always need to keep in mind. But that means that we have we're moving through sort of uncharted territories, and we could say that of course that creates winners and losers, but at the same time this is an inevitable situation because the things that were useful and inevitable in the past then are now need to be adapted and adjusted. Therefore, that as part of the energy transition, we need to keep in mind that we need to constantly be agile and ready to adapt to the sort of fast changing situation and the geopolitical situation, which also changes kind of global balances and global power balances. I would like to repeat what Mr. Manusakis said, that Greece should be proud because we've achieved great things, and this is something I dare say that these are, in a way, kind of sort of first world problems because we're trying to see how we're going to balance these. The speaker is off the mic. No, I totally agree with you. Because from our perspective, we try to we look at the future planning, we look at long-term planning, and I hope that it's understood that we try to make steady steps towards that direction. I'm not going to go into details because this is not the subject of this discussion, but we've made a huge effort into finding hydrogen so that we don't, and kind of domestic sources, so we do not need to go for exports. We also opened a new CCS market. We have the second European project in our area in order to give a solution to industries that are struggling to reduce their emissions. And on Tuesday, we announced the national plan for offshore wind farms, for which we're very proud of. Because this is a plan that demonstrates the huge capacity of the country, which once again it goes beyond the domestic needs. So what we're saying, and it's already been mentioned by before, that this is a dimension, an export dimension, I'd say. Therefore, we need to think how we can export this product that's going to be on demand. So surplus production of wind and solar energy is something very important, and that's something that needs to come back on the discussion, and we need to start talking about infrastructure. The national transmission operator and Mr. Manusakis has a lot to say about that, I'm sure. What you've mentioned, and I totally agree with you, that there is a concern in Greece that these projects are also very expensive. And this is true, but this is why we've We believe that we can offer a huge kind of part of the supply chain in the offshore wind farm. So this is what's going to make the real difference. The recent study with some initial assessments. So we shouldn't just look at the initial investments of 6 to 8 billion for the first few years, but we've made some forecasts up to 2050, where we see different scenarios, plus minus 20% of the target, and we can see the best scenarios and go beyond the goals of 2050. But that requires a 60 billion market. Therefore, you understand that we're talking about a very serious figures. So in terms of capex and opex, we're talking about 51 and 55% of potential domestic product. That means 1.9 billion contribution to this project. This is something that we need to promote. Speaker off the mic. Yes, there are many companies and investors themselves are in regular communication with them, and they put pressure towards this in order to overcome the usual problem of the chicken and egg. So we created a national program. We were very conservative about it, so therefore the figures that we show, these are safe figures. I would say that these are the minimum figures in order to avoid any delays. And this plan gives us a kind of a first impression of how we could envisage Greece and how far we can go with actual advantages due to infrastructures, but also due to geopolitical situation. The speaker is off the mic. Yeah, both shipyards and ports are important infrastructure that can be used. We're going to use, of course, steel. We're going to use companies are going to make platforms. We're going to use concrete. We have a cement industry in Greece. There are companies that are doing great, and on a global level, we see companies manufacturing cable. Therefore, I believe that there is great opportunities in terms of the supply chain in Greece.